All right, it's the Man to Man podcast. We're back recording again and doing, getting into this and having a good conversation. So, Mike, Dennis, again, the point of this podcast, the whole reason why we do it is because we want to be able to have conversations that people can watch, listen to, guys specifically directed towards, although I think a lot of things we talk about don't apply to just men, but being men, I think that's kind of the direction that we go to, where they can hear these conversations, listen, understand, and maybe get something out of it, or, you know, talk about some of the things that people are going through and talking about and all that. So that's the point of this podcast.
We want what we're doing on the podcast is to hopefully have men do in their original life, which is sit down, coffee table in a basement, sit down and have dinner together, but have these conversations about life in general, just about not necessarily getting any answers, not necessarily any direction, but just this needs to take place for us. We can't do it alone. And the more conversations that we can have with men face to face, we just think it's healthy. And so I know it's been healthy for Dennis and I in just our life situations and stuff we were talking about before we came on camera. The reality is, it's good to know that we have brothers that we can sit down with and have conversations with. So
I mean, I don't care if nobody watches these, frankly. It's really good to have these conversations.
All right, good talk. Well, it's good to see you.
I mean, honestly, we'll just keep doing them even if nobody does, because I think it's super helpful for me to be able to sit and talk some of these things out and to have this interaction and to be okay with this with other guys, right, and other people. So I think we're both in. We've been talking for about a good hour beforehand here, and we're both in way different places in our life than we were the last podcast that we did quite a while ago, and just in general, right? So work has changed for both of us. We're still, relationships are different. You and Carrie are sort of figuring out what the next steps are for where you're going to be living and and all that good stuff in terms of even what state you're going to be living in. It's not just like what house do you want to buy. We're sitting in basement of the new house that Britt and I bought 4 months ago, and so we're getting used to combined households and and figuring out a new house, new neighborhood, all that good stuff. And job's different. You've got a lot going on with your solar oven project that you've been working on, and Man to Man, which is, still going. You've got a retreat coming up in a couple of weeks, and a bunch of guys signed up for that, and a bunch of guys trying to figure out how to sign up for that still. Go to the website. If it doesn't work on your phones, use a computer. Our web designer is not super technically sound, and so it is what it is, right? And so anyways, we got a lot of stuff going on. So maybe just bring us into maybe give me an idea of what are some things as you're meeting with guys and having conversations with men still and working through all of the different avenues that you have where you're hanging out and having conversations. So, what are some common themes in everything that you're hearing and that people are experiencing now?
Well, I think you nailed it right on the head when you said you got all this stuff, and that's been kind of the main theme. It seems like every guy I talk to, and in my own life, and after talking with you, it just seems like everybody has got so many things going on in their life. It's amazing to me how many men that I talk to that it's out of control, and there's a sense of weariness that we're just getting wore out by life in general. When it comes to relationships, when it comes to your workplace, when it comes to just even days off. Saturdays and Sundays, you plan a whole bunch of things to do on those days off, which makes your life have more stuff. Right. And so, kind of where I've been at is just the reality of oh my gosh, why do I have so many things going on? Why am I concerned about so many things that 15 years ago would not be a concern whatsoever?
Right.
You can't respond to a person without going through 17 different scenarios of how you should respond.
For sure.
You know, you can't just pack up and move to another place because of all the different scenarios. So, you know, for me anyways, that's a big part of my life right now, is just there's all these different things up in the air, combined with the question I think that comes up to me is, you know, and knowing the answer, I guess, knowing the answer to this question, but doesn't mean you don't ask the question, right?
Sure.
Where are you, God?
Right. Yeah.
In all this. Where are you? You know, I don't know if the guys that are watching online right now, but I mean, just being a parent and being a father and a husband and a provider and all this kind of stuff, I just think something has shifted. The enemy is definitely trying to wear us out. Mm-hmm. But just there's a shift happening of how many things we become concerned about, and I'm coming to the realization that a lot of those things that I'm concerned about don't need my concern. But so God, what are you concerned about right now? Right. Just been praying before we started this thing, just okay, maybe I got to get, maybe it's getting back to, okay, these are all the things that I think I need to be doing, but what would you do in this situation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the thing about, that question that you see, like, God, where are you? I think that manifests itself in a few different ways, right? Like desperation, like where are you? And then like this, God, like the other side of it would be like where are you in this, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that
kind of the technical side, kind of.
Yeah, like I know you're here, right? I mean, for those of us that have this this belief or understanding that like God's here, even if I'm not, right? I mean, even if my brain's in a different place or emotionally I'm in a different place, God's still here.
Yes, he still remains.
So the reality is why can't I find him? Would really be the kind of another way to phrase that question, right? Is not like that's the hard part for me, I think, a lot of times, is not, God, where are you? But knowing, God, you're here, why can't I find you in this? Right. Why am I not able to connect with you on this? Yeah. And that's a tough one. Because when you do, you're like, oh, it totally makes sense. Like I can see where God's going with this and it makes sense. Yeah. So not being able to see where we're going.
Yeah. But even that, that's what I think is different, Denny, right now. Is like when he says something that makes sense for a moment, and then we step back into it going, well, what about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? What about this? And God's like, oh, no, I just told you that. What makes sense? Yeah, but what about this? And that's what I think is so difficult right now. Is like, you're right. God, where are you on this? But then he, he shows himself up time and time again. But then we pull back in all these other things, mm-hmm. and we take what he said and we cause it to become gray again instead of it just being black and white. Gosh, that just helped me. I mean, just now, that just helped me. The reality is that I know he never left, and I know he says things. I can think of something right now where I know he said something, and I'm like, okay, God, gotcha. But
right, and then you start to bring in all these other like, what's this person going to think of that? How am I going to make this work? Where's the time to mix that in with all of this? But that doesn't fit with what my plan was, right? And suddenly you start to mix all those other things in, and I think, at least for me, then I start to lose sight of what the bigger picture was, or what
was clear,
right? Yeah. And it becomes this, suddenly you're it's muddy again.
Yeah.
And
we're back to the question, God, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, what the heck? Or even worse, like, well, I thought you said.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how many times have I said that to you? Well, I thought God said, and but just because my understanding of where he's at, again, like we just talked about, we can get ourselves going down this path of, oh, I know where you're going.
Yeah. And
so then we start heading that direction. Yeah. And then you get there and you go, oh, wait a second, is this where I was supposed to be? Yeah. Or how did I get here? Right.
Yeah.
And the reality is because we heard that and we started going and then didn't check in, maybe, or.
Yeah. Well, I think the word that came up to me yesterday actually was lost. That I'm getting this sense of I'm lost, which is never. I mean, I've been worried, wondering, not clear on things, but the term lost is, like I'm just lost in all this, this is brand spanking new for me. Mm-hmm. And this is hot off the presses yesterday.
Right.
And what happened to me yesterday. There's just this sense of almost to the point, well, it was to the point yesterday to where it's like I just had no clue what to do in that moment.
In a situation where you normally would have control of your faculties at a minimum, right? Or at a best, right. Hey, I've got a plan, and like you've worked through situations worse than this
by far.
Multiple times before,
right?
And suddenly you find yourself in a situation where you go, I don't know how to do this.
I don't have a clue. Yeah, and that's where I, like I say, that's where when we're talking about we have so many things, and I can hopefully our hearts are tapping into some men's hearts out there. The reality is we're presented so many things on a daily basis that we don't need to know about or be concerned about, but yet we do. And I'm to the point of where I'm like I say, I looked around, I'm like a little kid lost.
Yeah.
I'm just help,
right.
Someone find me and help me, type thing. And I think that's because of the weariness. I think it's because the onslaught, not only the enemy, but our world presents us of all these things that you can't have a normal relationship anymore. You can't have a normal job. Mm-hmm. You can't even have a normal discussion without having to place the words the right way or say the right thing or do the right thing because of all these concerns about that person or about that situation or about that job or even about that ministry, even about God. Mm-hmm. And I just really think that what I'm hearing, what I'm going to be doing is taking one step at a time. I think I'm to the point of where I just got to take every day, each day, right now. And sure. I don't know if that's right. And I don't care. Mm-hmm. What I care about is what am I going to give this day? And God, what are you giving me for this day? Mm-hmm. Because that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is good and important. So let's go back to, right, you said that something happened yesterday. And, when you told me the story, so I'll try to pull some of that in. But not this, what happened doesn't matter. Right. But there are some pieces in here that I think do. But if you put yourself back in that situation, right, you have a whole lot of peripheral inputs coming at you. There's a bunch of people around. There's all sorts of stuff. You're in a familiar but not super familiar environment. Yeah. It's not an easy environment. It's, your cell phone doesn't have great service. I know the place that you were in, it always sucks to go there. So you can't pull up Google and go, maps and go get me here because it's not going to know where you are. Right. And you don't have all the information that you need. You didn't know where, what the place was called that you were going to even look it up. So, all of these things that we are so used to just knowing. Yep. Right. And we're so used to, if we don't know it, we can pull out our phone and we can get there. Yep. Right. But all of these things, like all of these inputs are coming at you, including, I'm sure you get the feeling of, gosh, these people are all looking at me like I'm an idiot because I'm just kind of wandering around here. And now I'm starting to sweat and I don't want to be sweating because then I got to go do this other thing. That's what I'm trying to go do. And I'm going to be a sweaty mess when I get there. Right. And so like this, I'm getting anxious just talking about this experience.
And then on top of that, I don't want you to keep going, but then on top of that, then you have the enemy going, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You should have done this before you came. You should have realized this by now. Yeah. What's your problem? Oh yeah. Then you're going to
be late. Yeah. All the accusations, which funny, I think that, you say if the enemy saying with you, I think a lot of those actually come from inside our own head.
Oh yeah.
It's stuff that, that we say about ourselves, right? Yeah. It's those things because I do it, I did it the other day when, something happened and I thought I don't ever do this. Yeah. I'm always prepared. I always have things set and ready ahead of time but I got myself into a situation and I'm like, I didn't prepare for this at all. I'm not ready to do this. And yet here I am and I have to do it. And the thoughts that came into my mind, right? You're losing it. You can't, you're too tired. You're not getting enough sleep. Like my own brain started just firing things at me. Right. And I'm just going like, how does this help right now? I mean, what am I doing to myself? I am now in this situation and have to deal with this, and none of these things are helpful.
Right, exactly.
And you have to, and so you had all this going on, and the thought of I'm just lost is what came at you, right? So in all of that, right? Like how does that word and that feeling like lost, like what does that come from, and how do you unpack that?
That's a great question. To be truthfully honest with you, I don't know how to unpack it because I was in the Colorado Rocky Mountains hunting elk and got lost, and I didn't have what happened to me. I mean, you die up in the Rocky Mountains if you're lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
here you just get directions from the 50,000 people that are around you.
You know what I mean? So that's what's interesting. That's why I say this is a new journey. This is something new that I'm going to Christ going, what was that all about? Because that's what I know. I'm a son. He's my father, and I know all these things. So okay, Jesus, what we always say from basics and from muster and becoming a king. Okay, Jesus, I invite you into that area, in that spot, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to listen. Okay, what's going on there? Because it could be as simple as I haven't got enough sleep.
Right. Maybe you're hungry.
Yeah. I think it's a little more than that because of the experience I had in it.
Right.
But I'm doing what I know best to do, and that's inviting Christ, inviting Jesus into that spot, into that area, into that moment, and going, okay, obviously it was uncomfortable. Obviously I hated every second of it.
Right.
So what's going on?
Yeah.
That.
So, but back up a second. So again, you're in this place, you're feeling this feeling of loss. Like the first thing that you did was just stop.
Yeah.
Right. Is what you said, is you just had, in the middle of all this chaos, you just were like, I need to stop.
Yeah. I need to sit down actually.
And sit myself down and center myself as to not allow this to race out of control anymore. So you stop. Then you reached out to somebody for help that knew where you were and the area, right? And so you reached out to somebody who'd been there before, and who had the information that you needed, right? And then from there,
then they walked me to my destination. Once I got to the destination, once I realized I wasn't lost anymore, then to be honest with you, I just stepped back into what I was doing or what I was supposed to be doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
It felt comfortable again, and you could then continue on. So then after those things, just stopping and going, let me center myself here. I'm going to stop the racing out of control. I'm going to bring it back down. I'm going to bring this in myself here.
Yeah.
Then you reached out to somebody who had experience, knew what they were doing, who could help you out, who you trusted to come and get you to where you were needed to go.
Yep.
You got there and you could step back into where you are. So now we're at what we were just talking about, where you're at this place where now you can look back on it,
right? And
you can go, what the heck just happened?
What the hell was
that? Don't want to do that again, right? And so now you're in this stage of, what was that?
Right.
And and is there something that I need to learn from this, right?
And one of the things one of the things last night and this morning, seeking after my Father, seeking after Christ and the Holy Spirit, asking me that. I think part of it is I've allowed my life to get so crowded. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Crowded, but yet I guess I can't even put a word to it, but it's kind of like the whole not knowing, There's just so many things right now that I'm not quite certain about. Mm-hmm. And I think they all just came to a head in one moment when, that's one of the things I feel is that they came to a head when I literally didn't know all these other things that I feel kind of lost in or kind of, unprepared for all kind of came to a head at one moment.
Right.
And,
like this overwhelming feeling,
Right.
almost like everything is crashing in, and
that I can't even do this,
right?
Type
For sure.
thinking, right? John Eldridge talks about being discipled by the internet. 100%, I agree with that, because we get information like this, anything we want, we get like this, and when you don't get it like this, there's anxiety, there's anxiousness that stems up. So when you have 15 decisions you have to make in the next 2 months, which I close to have, probably 10 pretty important decisions that are going to involve, people that I love and care about. I just think that somehow, some way, I've allowed myself to be kind of taken into that realm of so many different things that I need to take place of. And at the same thing, what it's done actually is it's actually caused me to kind of take a step back, not do nothing. In fact, I was just going through one of the videos for the survival school, because I'm listening to the videos and just praying and asking God, what are you going to bring to the table for all these men? And one of the things that John was saying in the video is this point of where we get almost, you get to the point of where you just don't want to do anything. Mm-hmm. And so you just like, well, F it all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm just going to step away and not do anything with any area and just get alone, get by myself, and just see if I can just get away from the world and its approach in my life. And he in the video, he did something really well with that. So that reality, in fact, as you can see right now, even my conversation, I'm kind of confused because I got these different thoughts going on. Mm-hmm. But I'm realizing that for me, anyways, personally, I don't know if this happens to men out there in general. I think it does, because we're supposed to be developed as leaders. We're supposed to be developed as confident. We're supposed to be men that aren't lost and make right decisions and do the right thing and all that kind of things. I mean, that's how we're designed, and take on challenges, and stuff like this, to the point of where I don't know if I don't know if I can do it.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's we have so much. We're expected to have this almost unwavering confidence in where we're going or what we're doing and all that, and I mean the reality is sometimes you don't know,
right?
And the flip side to that is, what do you do with it, right? It's not. I don't think it would be a surprise to any person watching or listening that that there are other people that feel like they don't always know the answer or what they're doing or anything like that. What our job is to then look at it and go, okay, now what do I do with that? Yeah. Where do I go with that? Right? You can't just live in that space, right? That's dangerous, right, and unproductive, frankly. But at the same time, if you don't know where to go, then how do you not just kind of hang out and live in that space? Right. It's really easy to find yourself just sort of wallowing in
complacent.
Yeah. And throwing up your hands and saying, well, I'm going to sit, how many people have we talked to that are like, I'm just been sitting here waiting for God to tell me what to do next.
Yep.
You're like, for how long? 2 years. Yeah. Okay. That's a long time, right? Yeah. I mean,
it's all in God's timing.
Yeah.
Why is he taking so long? What is he waiting for?
Right. Which again, and not to be crass, because there are times, plenty of times in the Bible where God did take a long time to do things.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Those people still didn't just sit around in that area. Sometimes they made mistakes. I think Abraham's a great example, right? I mean, it was forever before the prophecy that God gave him that you're going to have a son, you're going to be the father of many nations, right? Like, it was a long time that he waited for that. In the meantime, he was trying to do what he thought was right. Yeah. And some things not so much, right? He had a kid with somebody other than his wife, right? Like, not a great choice. But he's not just sitting around waiting.
Yeah, and the scriptures, faith without works is dead. I mean, you have faith and you're trusting in God's timing and you're waiting on God, and at the same time, you're working out your salvation with God at the same time. So it's not either or. It's just this reality of it's a tough one right now. And the thing that keeps getting to me is just this overwhelming influx of things and stuff and information. Yeah. And you can't go out. Well, I can, but some people can't go out and buy some butter without checking to make sure the cholesterol level and everything like that. Can't buy a bag of carrots before they look and see what farm it came from. And I mean, yeah, it's just this information blast of how, you can get online one day and go, I got a stomach ache. So for stomach aches, drink milk and eat a banana, and then all of a sudden a week later you're looking up stomach aches. Said, don't ever eat bananas or drink milk. and
it'll kill you. What?
And we're wondering why we're so stretched is because the information that we attain on a daily basis. I mean, I think if John or Morgan say, it'd blow up a laptop.
Right. Yeah.
And I think for me, anyways, that's really come to fruition for me. It's just really come to, there's so many different aspects and so many things that I've come to concern about. And I think it just culminated in that one moment. And now I'm realizing, okay, what I got to go back. First off, reestablish, call someone for help. Yeah. Just establish my relationship with my Father. That's why I've asked Jesus into it. Okay, what's going on there? And what I feel in my heart is the fact of that, okay, I got to start eliminating some of these things because I just got too many of them. And so, God, which ones do you want me to? You give everything over to Him, but, to put off to the side for now, step into this thing. And I do think that a lot of men are feeling this, the whole question that we always talk about in our men's events is, do I have what it takes?
Right.
And when you're in that spot that I was in, you definitely don't feel like you have what it takes.
Right. It's funny how that just comes storming back at you, isn't it? Yep. I mean, it's such a basic question. I mean, we learn it day one, at the retreat, at our basic retreats that we do. Yeah. You learn like this is the main, this is the question that men have, and yet it still comes back, and you're still times when when I'm dealing with some things with my kids, and I still go, I don't know if I'm capable of doing this, right? Like, I don't think I have the capacity to do this, right? I don't have what it takes effectively. Yeah. And it just keeps coming back at you, and it keeps firing back. And, I think of this, the Proverbs that, drilled into us by Dr. V, is to guard your heart, right? Yeah. Guard your heart, for out of your heart is wellspring of life. Yeah. Hard time saying wellspring of life. That's, to do that is it's a life or death kind of situation sometimes. If we don't guard our hearts, if we don't protect ourselves from all of these things that are coming at us, all those inputs that we were talking about, if all those were to disappear, so if where you were, if all the people were gone, if all the traffic was gone, if everything was, the time crunch was gone, and you're dropped in that location a month from now, I bet you find the building.
Oh, I could see it clearly because I could actually see it from right down the road once I got pointed out to me. So
it was. It's when we allow all these external things, right? Like, am I going to get there on time? I don't know where I'm going. Oh my gosh, I didn't see that before. That doesn't make any sense. I'm kind of hungry. I don't know if I really slept.
I should have did this.
These shoes kind of suck, right? Yeah. Like when all of those things you're starting to process, it gets to our heart to where we're somewhere, those are all things in our brain.
Right. And
we all deal with all of those. But somewhere in your heart went, you're never going to find this place. Yeah. That's not your brain.
That's something I came into agreement
That's with. An agreement that comes up in your heart that says, why did you even try to do this? What made you think that you could do this? Yeah. That's something way deeper inside of us that we have to guard ourselves from.
Yeah, right.
And it happens I mean, it happens in with our kids. It happens in our marriages. It happens in relationships with, there's other guys that I'm like, I don't know if I really want to reach out to that guy because I know he's going to ask me this and I don't have an answer for him yet. Like I still don't know what the heck to do with that.
Right.
And so, it stops us from being in areas that we should be okay in.
Right.
But that voice inside of there that says, hey, this is not something that you can do, is based off of that. You don't have what it takes. And it comes back at us in a new way, which is crazy. How just that same thing can be used against us in so many different ways. And sometimes it surprises you. Oh, yeah. You don't recognize it in the moment.
Well, it was also said in the video that we have to remember that the enemy never gives up.
Mm-hmm.
He's not
right.
He's turning it up a notch, especially against men. When the mortality rate is just being man. In other words, the people that are dying the youngest are men, just being a man, and so he's turning it up a notch, and he's definitely wearing. I mean, I just talked to a guy the other day who had a story of a horrible thing that happened in his marriage, and basically it was because of the fact of so many things going on. He needed a release. He needed something else. He needed to disrupt the force. Instead of going to God, he went to something else that he could feel like he had what it takes in.
Sure. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I think what you said here is something that I'm going to take from this is that I got to clear away the stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I do every morning. I mean, which is so funny because every morning I get up and I read my daily Bible. I do the daily pause app. I do, every morning, in that moment I have clarity. I have a sense of peace, in that moment. So now what do I pull in after that moment, which is something I should already know. Right. I've only been doing this Christian thing for 36 years in my life. You'd think I'd have it figured out, but we know that's not true. But that's something I'm taking from our conversation is, okay, I need to, well, first off, recenter myself, find a chair, sit down, maybe call somebody that, like you, and say, hey, man, have a conversation. But then the reality is, okay, clear out the clutter. Why is once something that I had felt like God was leading in my life now so out of control in my life? And so, yeah, that's what I'm going to start doing. But see, even in the thinking of what we're talking about, I've got 15 different things going on in my head.
For sure. Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just so strange.
And the hard part is again, you're trying to pick out those.
Trying to
I feel like
something.
I'm trying to solve the issue. And the reality is that we're just supposed, maybe solving it is just talking.
It's having a conversation. Like I say, just because of our conversation, I got that thought of, yeah. And so, but, I don't know. So that's something. So anyways, that's something that seems to be most men that I'm talking to nowadays are in that kind of the same spot of just, they have so many different, I have another guy that I talk to who is, house started on fire and he's been trying to get that together to work on. It's been months and months and months and months. And it should be something that should have took a month at the most. But it's just wearing them down, and it's, what do I do different? What can I do different? What should I be doing? What shouldn't I be doing? Oh, maybe I did this wrong. Maybe I should try a different place. Maybe I should do a different house. Maybe I should do a different, and to be truthfully honest with you, the only place we get clarity is from our Father, from our God. And so we need to make space to be able to hear and listen to him and ask him, invite him into those areas, which I'm trying to do. And
it may be just the understanding of that this is something that happens.
Yeah.
And to not beat ourselves up over it and not to think that, we should have the answer, frankly, but just understand that sometimes stuff happens.
Right.
And sometimes sometimes we're not going to have the answer. And that doesn't mean that we're not enough. It just means that we don't necessarily have the answer. And there are a lot of things that we can do, though.
Yeah. And when you think about that, the thought that came to my mind is, we need to be looking for the answer, not searching out for a bunch of answers.
Right.
There's a lot of places we can get answers about the situation we're in. 15 different books, 15 different podcasts, 15 different websites, on feeling lost.
Right.
Right. So are we searching for answers or are we searching for an answer from the one that we know has it?
just this morning, my wife and I are having a conversation about some things that we're dealing with, and and she says, "Oh, this sounds like this is this situation," and I was like, "Yeah, it does kind of sound like it's that," and so I'm processing this, and next thing you know, she's like, well, and she Googles it, so now she starts to read all of this, and she starts, and I'm like, "Oh, no, like." The last thing I need is more inputs from more things, right? Like, let's just process what you said. What you said made sense,
right? And
it's good, and I think it helps us to move the right direction. But now I don't want to know what 15 different people say about this, right? Like, let's just process that ourselves again. Let me sit down for a second and collect myself over what you just said, instead of just piling more data on top of that. So then I can never come to a, not to say like I'm going to come to some sort of answer per se, because I think we're all searching an answer, but more of just, can I come to a place where I am, again, going back to the situation that you were in, right? I don't need an answer. I just need to get there, so then I can move myself into a place of comfort, so then I can come back to this later and process what happened. But for right now, the last thing you needed was somebody to come along and go, well, this is what you need to do. You need to go down here. You need to take a right at this street, and then you take a left at that street, and then you're going to see a pink umbrella, and you need to go under that, and then go bear slight left up the stairs. You would have been like, you're not helping.
Right.
Like, I can't do
You don't have the right shoes to do it.
You needed somebody to go, here, let's just get there.
I think
stop adding inputs and just get it.
What's interesting about our conversation right now was, I think, to be honest with you, old school way was give me an answer.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes, no, maybe. I don't care. Give me one of those three. Yes, do this. No, don't do it. Well, maybe. Right. Yeah. But what did we start to do? What did you just start to do? And I just started to do well, maybe it's not necessarily an answer all the time. We're trying to justify it when realistically, I'm serious right now. No, I want a freaking answer. I'm sore. I want an answer. Right. I want to know. And I think sometimes we don't ever get there because we almost think that that's wrong.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. And it's not. It's not wrong to go, God or Denny, yes or no. Right. Tell me. See, once again, as we're having this conversation, I'm learning stuff right now that I'm doing in my life. I mean, I in fact, there has been so many things that I have kept broad. Right. Because of the fear of, if I do have the answer, I might not want to go there. Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It may be fearful. Maybe something that I don't like. You might have to give up something that you're doing now that you like. Yeah. So, I know for a fact that I'm going to walk away from our conversation going, no, God, Father, Jesus, Holy Spirit, what's the answer for this? Mm-hmm. And then trust that he's going to give me the answer and then keep it. Yeah. Instead of trying to justify it. Well, I don't know if that was God. Because of what this person could think. Yeah. Of what this, oh my gosh, dude, I'm telling you right now. See, this is why you got to have these conversations. It is. It's because, that's for sure something I'm going to step into. Realizing that I'm his son, and realizing that he's a father that's going to direct me in the right path. He's just going to, So that's it's good. I think that's a big part. Good. All right. Well, we'll wrap up this episode. We're gonna come back. You and I already talked about. We're gonna say it out loud, so then we end up doing it. We're gonna do a 3-part series about the armor of God, which is. Well, can I explain why about that? Yeah, have at it. Yep. Well, just for example, meeting with the guys that I meet with, whether I'm mentoring them, coaching them, or discipling them, a common theme that's come up when we talk about the battles that we've been facing, just like we're talking about today. The things that we face as men, whenever I bring up the Ephesians scriptures about the armor, the majority, in fact, all three said, I've never understood that scripture. They understand that, we don't fight against flesh and blood, but against principalities of the air. They get the spiritual side of it. But what I'm talking about is, okay, put on the belt of truth. What does that literally mean? Right. How do you do that? Because when I question them and say, okay, how do you put on the belt of truth? They don't have any idea. They just they don't know how to put it on to actually put it in place and what that belt of truth actually means in the spiritual element in your life. So that's why when I brought it up to you, I thought that'd be maybe a good one. Maybe there's some other guys that don't understand how that works. So
agreed. Yeah, no, I think it's really good. I think that those are actionable things that we are supposed to do and how we can continue to move forward. That I agree. I don't think we think about it a lot. So we're going to do that. We're going to record a 3-part series coming up here. We'll release them when we get a chance to record them. I'm going to Italy here in a couple of weeks. I'll be gone for 10 days. So
and I'm going to Ireland.
And you're going to Ireland in a couple of weeks. So we're both like international world travelers, which is great. But we will find a way to mix these in around those.
Oh, we'll get them done. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right.